Hi, welcome to my studio, and today I'm going to cover a topic that lots of people ask about, something they get confused about, and when I do my Patreon art channel critiques, it's something that comes up a lot as mistakes people are making. And the thing is, it's all about backgrounds and the colours people select to go into a background. They usually take photos from things like zoos, wildlife parks, such as this wolf, and you can have a really distracting background that obviously you don't want to copy. So lots of people have this with doing pet portraits as well, and they see these fantastic drawings on Instagram and Facebook and YouTube of pet portrait artists, and they've put them on a subtle background and it all just seems to work. All the colours seem to complement each other. But when they try to do it, it all doesn't work. It's all a bit disjointed and the colours don't work together. So I've took a few images off of a free image site just to show you the way I approach it, the way I tackle it myself. Okay, so here's a young gorilla image. Now the background obviously has got that terracotta look to it. We've got grasses around, but what I wanted to show you, because this is the important part, this is the important thing to consider when you're selecting colors for a background. I say in lots and lots of my videos, the subject is being influenced by the surrounding it's in, and you can really see it in this gorilla image. Now as I said, we've got that terracotta background. Now look at the side of the face on the gorilla. It's really being influenced by that, the red, the warm tones of the terracotta. It's really bouncing into it, and as I said, influencing that color. Now the grasses are also influencing it, and it's all according how strong the light is, how much of this color or these colors are influencing the subject, and also the color of the subject as well. So if we had, say, perhaps a white swan or a bear, a polar bear instead of the gorilla, you'd see these colors bouncing onto there more purely. They wouldn't have been mixed with the color of the subject. Okay, so that's something I really take into consideration. So I can tell by the face, the nose area on this young gorilla, that we've got a blue sky, or there's at least something blue above it that I'm assuming is a blue sky, because it's really influencing and affecting the color, the shine on that nose area and on the brow as well. So if I wanted to take this subject and put different color backgrounds in there, here all I've done here, I've just really crudely cut that background away. Okay, I've really just gone around with a quick cut-in tool and cut that away, so I can choose some different color backgrounds that will actually not be too bad on this. So I know we've got a blue sky above it, so in theory I should be able to put a subtle blue behind, a lavender kind of blue that should look okay, and you can see it works because that color is in the face. I should also be able to put that kind of a terracotta look into it as well, and that should work as a colored background, and it does work because it fits in here. And actually, because there's green on the floor as well, I bet you that's influencing it enough that I could put a subtle green color in there, and that would work too. And it does. Perhaps not as well, because what's happening now, the eye is thinking, well, why is there red on top of the head? Why is this kind of terracotta on top? Okay, so that's not working as well in my opinion. Of course, you could just, in place of that, what we could do is blur that background right out, just by using a Gaussian blur on there. So I've selected the background, I've just blurred it out. So you can see how that then really does work, because it really fits in with the light that's influencing on the head itself. Okay, so let's take a look at another example. Got the snow leopard this time. the background is blurred out. It may be a little bit too complicated. Perhaps if you was doing it, I'd look at perhaps blurring it even more or keeping it the same. It's not distracting too much from the face, from the head, but you can see on the sunlit side it's being influenced by a warm light, and then in the shade by more of the background is influencing into it. So we've got these blue tones, these kind of earthy tones, a warm earthy tone down here, a little bit cooler with the light blues. Those colors should work for the background. There's lots of things influencing it again. Now the fact it's a snow leopard is irrelevant. This could be a dog, a cat, whatever. So if I wanted to change the background or perhaps select a paper color, a close paper color that I could just leave, I'm going to start to think about the background again and what's actually there, and use those colors to start to select some ideas of things I can use. So if I select the eyedropper tool, and that's in virtually every image editing program, I can just go and click these. So I've got that kind of a earthy colored background, and then here's a layer where I've just cut very roughly again, cut the snow leopard out. Okay, so down here, bottom left hand corner, if you see where my mouse is going, that's that earthy color we selected. Now I'm just going to select the paint bucket and put that in, and you can see it works. That color just works straight off because I selected it from a background. It was quite a large color in the background. So don't go selecting, perhaps here's a little red flower, a tiny little flower. If you selected that red, that's not going to work. It needs to be like a general color in the background. Now I can go image, adjust, and then the brightness on this, and let's see what happens when I increase and decrease the brightness. See if it still works. Oh, just need to select the background. Okay, my mistake there, I didn't put the color on the background layer. So if I now go image, adjust, brightness, I should be able to increase the brightness. You can see that color is still working. I can decrease it down, and it's still nice and natural, that color in there. So I'll just cancel that a second, and let's take a look at a different background color, or a different color from the background. Let's select something different. Let's look at this bluey tone here. It's all the way down here. There's a little bit there. It's kind of over this side as well, and I've selected that. Okay, I'll just use it dark like that for now. That's the color we had there, and I'll just pop that on there instead. And you can see that color works as well. It's working because that color is in this cooler side. So if I go image, adjust, and do that brightness again, let's see what it looks like. A bit brighter, still working, and down darker as well. So those colors are working again. Now what if instead I took a color that's not in the background? Let's make up a color. Let's look at a green, because greens are not really in there at all. So I'll select a new layer and I'll put that green on there, and you can see instantly it's kind of a natural neutral looking green, but it just doesn't, it looks disjointed. And this is what I'm seeing when I'm seeing people do send images in for critique. They put like a green background, and all of a sudden it's not really working at all. It's not as bad as some I've seen, but let's look at the brightness. You can see whatever I'm doing to it, really, even there, which looks better because it's subduing it, it's not really working like the other colors. Okay, so let's take those off. So I could have selected really any of these colors, as I said, and or looked for a paper color that's very close to it. You can get with pastelmat, we can get a grey or a light grey even, which is kind of around about this color. So let's put this over instead. just alter the brightness because it's actually a bit brighter than that. So you could see how those colors would work too. So there's another example. Okay, other things people get confused with is when you've got a complicated background like this, okay, and they want to perhaps keep the elements in there. So we forget about this artificial pole and the fencing by there, but they may actually like the trees. Okay, so all I've done here, and I've shown it in other videos, I've used like a magic wand tool and I've gone all the way around the animal. Okay, and then I selected and I went inverse, and that selects the background rather than the animal. Okay, so what we can now do is filter, blur, Gaussian blur. That's what it is. If we go with that and I blur that background right out, now I can use lots of different radiuses which will blur it just slightly, a bit more. So perhaps you want a background, perhaps it's a house or setting like that where you want to keep the personal aspects in there, perhaps a dog's blanket or a chair or something like that that they would like in the portrait because it's personal to them. So you can just blur it subtly in the tool or keep going and go more and more. So here you can see perhaps you'd use these colors now for a pet portrait or for a wolf portrait such as this, because because all you're doing is blurring, you know those colors are influencing the subject, so they've got to work. They must work because we know the light is bouncing around, all those colors bouncing around and influencing it, and we can keep going with that, and you can see it's kind of merging and smudging all the colors together, but see how beautifully they then work. Okay, and I'll go all the way back down. So that's another way, another thing I look at when I'm doing portraits for a background that I know is going to work. So if I adjust the brightness, I can go up and down on that. It's still going to work. You see? And that would make a great blurry background. So those are things, it's only a brief video, but the application of the pastels is not usually the problem, or the paints, because this would be just as equally important with paints. It's not the application of the pastels or the paints, it's usually the selecting of colors that are not represented in the photograph at all. They're not influencing the subject. So look at your photo, look at the reference photos, pick colors that are in the subject reference photo and try those. You know then that they're going to suit the subject because they're already usually in the fur, even if it's a subtle way. So hope that video has cleared that up for you. Any questions, put them below and I'll try and get back to you. Lots of my videos I already show the techniques to do blurred background such as this, from a subtle blur to a real Gaussian blur where it blurs it right out very soft. So hope you've enjoyed the video and I'll see you all again real soon. If you're looking for even more great art sources, I've really got you covered. First off, I've got a Patreon channel that's been going well over a year or so, packed with around about 50 or more videos and new ones every month. Lots of the videos are many hours long, so you can see they're really in-depth. Subjects such as turtles, birds, elephants, big cats, you name it, is on there. So that's my Patreon channel. And also on that Patreon channel, before I go on to something else, I've got a secret Facebook group. So only the members are actually on there. It's the most supportive and friendly Facebook group that I've ever seen. I know I'm biased, but it really is. We've got 400 or 500 members on there and they all help each other. So that's a great added bonus. That comes free with it. Also, you get line art every month as well. And we've just designed a brand new companion website for it. So if you've joined other Patrons and channels and you found it very difficult to navigate around, we got this free website that comes with it. All the videos are now just a single click away. Couldn't be any easier than it is. I've also got my site, jasonmorgan.co.uk, lots of tutorial videos, DVD discs and downloads on there. And if you're struggling for reference photos for your art projects, I've got some of those too. I've got 900 plus on my website, wildlifeart-online.com, and they will be copyright free for you, so you can paint and draw from them and sell your work with no copyright worries whatsoever. So hope you like those extra resources, and I'll see you all again real soon.